The year was 2087, and Earth was dying. Jiwoo Park stood on the observation deck of Luna Station, watching his home planet through the reinforced windows. What he saw made his heart heavy with grief. The blue marble that had been humanity's cradle for millions of years was now covered in dark patches that grew larger each day. The Void Plague had started 6 months ago. Nobody knew where it came from or how to stop it. The disease ate everything living, plants, animals, even bacteria. It spread like wildfire, turning forests into ash and cities into graveyards. Scientists said it worked at the molecular level, breaking apart the very building blocks of life itself. Jiwoo touched the communication device on his wrist. "Status report from Earth," he said quietly. The voice that answered was tired and sad. "Population count is now at 400 million, Admiral. We've lost another 50 million this week. 400 million. Just months ago, Earth had 8 billion people. Now most of them were gone, consumed by the plague that turned everything it touched into gray dust." "Sir," another voice called from behind him. Jiwoo turned to see Lieutenant Hygiene Lee approaching with a data pad in her hands. Her face was pale, but her eyes still held hope. "The Coalition ships are responding to our message." Jiwoo nodded. The Galactic Coalition had been humanity's greatest hope. For 10 years, they had been in contact with these advanced alien races. The Nexari were beings made of living crystal who could travel faster than light. The Valeth could speak mind to mind without words. The Corvan Empire had technology that seemed like magic to human eyes. When the plague started, Earth had sent desperate messages to their new alien friends. "Please help us," the messages said. "We are dying. We need your advanced medicine and technology." The Coalition had answered quickly. "We are coming," they promised. "Prepare for rescue operations." Now their ships filled the space around Earth's solar system. Hundreds of them. Crystal ships that looked like floating diamonds, sleek metal vessels that bent light around them, and massive Corvan battle cruisers that could destroy planets. "Put them on the main screen," Jiwoo ordered. The wall in front of him lit up, showing the face of High Chancellor Vextar of the Corvan Empire. The alien looked like a tall, thin human, but his skin was silver and his eyes glowed with inner light. "Admiral Park," the alien said, his voice cold and emotionless. "We have completed our analysis of your situation." "Thank God," Jiwoo whispered. "What do you need us to do? How can we help with the rescue?" Vextar's glowing eyes seemed to look right through him. "There will be no rescue, Admiral. The Coalition has voted. We are implementing Protocol 7. Jiwoo felt the blood drain from his face. "What is Protocol 7? "Complete quarantine and isolation. Your solar system will be sealed off from the rest of the galaxy. No ship may enter or leave. The plague must not spread beyond Earth." "But our people are dying," Jiwoo shouted, his calm breaking. "You promised to help us. We trusted you." "The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few," Vextar replied without emotion. "Humanity must be sacrificed to protect the galaxy." Other alien faces appeared on the screen. A Nexari made of blue crystal spoke in a voice like breaking glass. "This decision was not made lightly, but your species was always meant to serve this purpose." "What purpose?" Jiwoo demanded. "A buffer zone," the Nexari explained. "Your world sits between Coalition space and the dark regions beyond. We knew something like this plague might come from that direction someday. Humanity was insurance." Jiwoo stared at the aliens he had thought were friends. "You planned this. You never meant to save us." A Valeth with large black eyes nodded slowly. "Your species shows promise, but you are too young, too dangerous. This plague gives us the perfect excuse to contain you permanently." "We won't let you do this," Jiwoo said, his voice shaking with rage. "We'll fight." Vextar almost smiled. "With what? Your few hundred ships against our thousands? Your primitive weapons against our advanced technology? Be realistic, Admiral." The screen went dark. Around Luna Station, alarms began to sound. Through the windows, Jiwoo could see the Coalition ships moving into position. They formed a perfect sphere around the entire solar system, their weapons aimed inward. Commander Tae-min Kim burst onto the observation deck. Sir, they're activating some kind of energy field. Our ships can't get through. Ji-woo closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them with new determination. Send a message to all human ships and stations. Tell them we're on our own now. What do we do, sir? Hygiene asked, her voice small and scared. Ji-woo looked back at Earth, still dying in the distance. Then he looked at the alien ships that surrounded them like a cage. We survive, he said simply. Whatever it takes, however long it takes, we survive. And maybe someday we'll show them a mistake they made. The great abandonment had begun. Humanity was alone in the dark, left to die by those they had trusted. But in that darkness, something new was being born, a rage that would burn for 50 years, waiting for its chance to become something more. 50 years had passed since the Coalition abandoned humanity to die. The solar system looked very different now. Where once there had been bustling cities and green forests on Earth, now there were underground cities carved deep into rock and metal. The survivors called themselves the Forsaken, and they had learned to live in a world that wanted to kill them. Dr. Hygiene Lee walked to the halls of New Seoul, the largest underground city on Earth. Her hair was now gray, but her eyes still burned with the same fire they had 50 years ago when she was just a young lieutenant. The walls around her glowed with soft blue light from bioluminescent panels, one of humanity's many new inventions. Dr. Lee, a voice called. She turned to see Captain Do-hyun Choi jogging toward her. He was young, born after the abandonment, and his body showed the changes that all new humans carried. His reflexes were faster than the old humans. His skin had a slight metallic sheen that protected him from radiation, and his eyes could see in almost complete darkness. "What is it, Captain?" she asked. "We caught another Coalition probe ship. The Admiral wants you to see what we found." They walked together through corridors filled with people who looked both human and something more. Children played games that would have been impossible for old humans, leaping incredible heights, moving faster than the eye could follow. Adults worked on machines that bent the laws of physics in ways the Coalition had never imagined. In the command center, Admiral Sun Ho-young was waiting. He had been just a child when the abandonment happened, but now he led what remained of humanity with wisdom earned through decades of survival. "Show her," he said to Do-hyun. The young captain activated a holographic display. Images filled the air, pictures taken from the captured probe ship. Hygiene gasped at what she saw. "That's the Tau Ceti system," she whispered. "That was one of our first colonies." In the images, alien machines stripped minerals from human worlds. Massive ships carried away resources that had taken humanity decades to gather. And in slave camps, she could see figures that looked human working under alien guards. "They're not all dead," Do-hyun said quietly. "Some of our people survived the plague. The Coalition has been using them as workers for 50 years. Hygiene felt rage burning in her chest. "How many?" "We estimate about 2 million humans scattered across 12 systems. All of them slaves." Admiral Yang stepped closer to the hologram. "But that's not the worst part. Show her the genetic labs." The image changed. Now they could see Corvin scientists working with human DNA, mixing it with their own genetic material. The results were hybrid creatures that were stronger and faster than pure Corvin. "They're using our genetics to improve themselves," Yang said, his voice cold with anger. "The same genetics they said were too dangerous to let live freely." Hygiene clenched her fists. For 50 years, she had worked on the Genesis Project, changing humanity to help them survive. She had watched children be born with abilities their grandparents could never have imagined. She had seen humans adapt to live in space, underwater, in the freezing cold, and in burning heat. All of it had been about survival. "The quarantine field," she said suddenly. "How strong is it now?" Do-hyun smiled, and there was something dangerous in that smile. "That's the interesting part. We've been studying it for decades. The field generators are old now, and the Coalition has stopped maintaining them properly. They think we're all dead." "Are we dead?" Yang asked. "Sir, Captain, if you had to guess, what would Coalition intelligence reports say about humanity right now?" Do-hyun thought for a moment. "That the plague killed us all 40 years ago. Maybe that a few thousand survivors are hiding in bunkers, waiting to die. Exactly, Yang said. They've forgotten about us. They think we're extinct. Hygiene looked at the images of enslaved humans again. What are you thinking, Admiral? I'm thinking that 50 years of being dead has given us some advantages. We've had time to grow stronger, time to develop technology they've never seen, time to plan. Yang walked to another display showing the positions of human settlements throughout the solar system. Mars had 3 major cities now. The asteroid belt was full of mining stations and weapons platforms. Even the moons of Jupiter and Saturn had become fortress worlds. The Coalition wanted to use us as a buffer zone, he said. They got their wish. But they forgot that buffer zones work both ways. What do you mean? Du Hyun asked. They're so busy fighting each other and managing their empire that they spread themselves thin. Their ships are old, their soldiers are soft, and they've forgotten how to fight for survival. Yang's eyes gleamed. But we never forgot. Hygiene understood. You want to break the quarantine. I want to remind the galaxy that humanity is still here, and I want our people back. Yang activated another display. This one showed ship designs unlike anything the Coalition had ever seen. They were built for war, designed by people who spent 50 years learning to survive against impossible odds. How long? Hygiene asked. Our hackers say they can bring down the quarantine field in 6 months. After that, Yang smiled, and it was not a kind smile. After that, the galaxy is going to learn what happens when you abandon humanity to die. Outside in the darkness between the stars, Coalition ships continued their lazy patrol, unaware that inside their perfect prison, humanity had become something they had never expected, something that could fight back. The quarantine field that had trapped humanity for 50 years began to flicker and fade like a dying light bulb. On Coalition monitoring stations throughout the galaxy, alarms started ringing as technicians stared at their screens in confusion. Sir, we're getting massive power fluctuations in the Sol system barrier, a young Nexri technician reported to his commander. His crystalline body flashed nervous colors of orange and red. Commander, Zethrak barely looked up from his reports. Probably just another solar flare. The humans have been dead for decades anyway. File a maintenance request. But the technician was wrong, and so was his commander. Deep inside the asteroid belt, Nova, humanity's most advanced AI, finished the last sequence of code that had taken 30 years to perfect. The artificial intelligence had grown far beyond what its creators had imagined, becoming something that was part human thinking and part pure digital evolution. Quarantine field is down. Nova announced a command center on Ceres Station. We are free. Admiral Sunho Yang stood before a massive viewing window, watching as the first human ship in 50 years prepared to leave the solar system. The vessel was sleek and black, built with technology that mixed human creativity with pure desperation. Captain Boram Shin reporting for departure. Came the voice over the communication system. Remember, Yang said into his microphone, this is just a scouting mission. Send a message and get out. Don't engage any Coalition forces. Understood, sir. Yang watched as the ship activated its new drive system. Instead of the slow acceleration that old human ships used, this one simply disappeared in a flash of twisted space. The new engines bent reality itself, letting humanity travel faster than even the Coalition had thought possible. 3 days later, Captain Shin's ship appeared in the Proxima Centauri system, where a Coalition research station floated peacefully around a small red star. The aliens working there had not seen anything unusual in decades. Their job was boring, just monitoring space for problems that never came. That changed when their sensors detected an unknown ship. This is Coalition Research Station 7, a Valith operator broadcast. Unknown vessel. Identify yourself immediately. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then a human voice answered, speaking in perfect Coalition standard language. This is Captain Boram Shin of the Human Defense Force. We bring greetings from Earth. The Valith operator's large black eyes went wide with shock. Around the station, other aliens stopped their work and stared at their screens. Humans? That was impossible. Everyone knew the humans had died out decades ago. That's not possible, the operator whispered. The plague killed all humans 40 years ago. Reports of our death have been greatly exaggerated, Shin replied calmly. Please relay this message to Coalition Command. We're still here. Before the station could respond, the human ship vanished again, leaving behind only confused aliens and a message that would change everything. News of the human contact spread through Coalition space like wildfire. On the Corvin capital world, High Chancellor Vextar read the report 3 times before he could believe it. How is this possible? He demanded. Our scientists said the plague would kill them all within 10 years. His aide, a nervous Corvin with silver skin, shifted uncomfortably. Sir, perhaps some survivors found a way to resist the disease? A few thousand primitives hiding in caves. Vextar said dismissively. Not a threat. But he was wrong. While the Coalition leadership argued about what to do, Captain Shin was already returning to human space with intelligence that made Admiral Yang's blood run cold. Show me again, Yang said, staring at the holographic display in his command center. The images were devastating. Human colonies that the Coalition claimed were empty were actually full of mining operations. Alien corporations had moved in the moment they thought humanity was extinct, stripping away resources and erasing every trace that humans had ever been there. Worse still were the slave camps. Captain Shin had managed to take pictures of humans working in terrible conditions on airless moons and burning desert planets. Men, women, and children who had survived the plague only to become property of their former allies. This camp on Kepler, 442b, Yang said, pointing to one image. How many? Approximately 50,000 humans, Shin reported, all of them working in the uranium mines. The radiation would kill normal humans, but these survivors seemed to have adapted. Yang's fists clenched. They'd been slaves for 50 years while we thought they were dead. Admiral, came another voice. Dr. Hygiene Lee entered the command center, her face grim. I've been analyzing the genetic samples from the captured probe ships. The Coalition isn't just using our people as slaves. They're breeding them. What? They're creating hybrid soldiers using human DNA. Our enhanced genetics combined with alien technology. They're making armies of creatures that are stronger than any purebred Coalition species. Yang was quiet for a long moment, processing this information. Then he spoke, his voice deadly calm. Nova, activate Operation Nemesis. Send orders to all fleet commanders. The AI's voice filled the command center. Operation Nemesis is active. What are your orders, Admiral? The Coalition wanted us dead. They enslaved our people. They stole our worlds. They used our genetics to build their armies. Yang's eyes blazed with 50 years of stored anger. Time to show them what a mistake that was. Throughout human space, ships began launching from hidden bases. The galaxy was about to discover that humanity had not just survived. They had evolved into something far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The first Coalition patrol to encounter the human fleet never had a chance to send a warning. Commander Zalthek of the Nexury Defense Corps was conducting a routine sweep of the Outer Rim when his sensors detected 3 unknown ships approaching at impossible speeds. Reduce speed and identify yourselves, he broadcast, his crystalline voice carrying the authority of 50 years of unchallenged power. The response came in the form of weapons fire unlike anything he had ever seen. Streams of superheated plasma tore through his ship's crystal hull as if it were paper. Around him, his crew screamed in harmonics of terror as their vessel broke apart. Impossible, he whispered as his ship died. Human weapons could never... His words were cut short as his bridge exploded. Within minutes, all 3 Coalition ships were nothing but drifting debris. Fleet Admiral Minji Kong watched the destruction from her flagship, the Vengeance. Her enhanced eyes, product of 50 years of genetic evolution, tracked every detail of the battle without emotion. Target destroyed, reported her weapons officer, Lieutenant J. Hopark. Like all the new generation of humans, he moved with fluid grace that would have seemed impossible to their ancestors. Good. Signal the fleet. We move on Kepler Station in 6 hours. Kepler Station was the Coalition's main administrative center for this sector of space. It was also where they processed stolen resources from human colonies and coordinated the slave labor camps. For Minji, it represented everything wrong with a galaxy that had abandoned her people. News of the patrol's destruction reached Coalition Command just as reports began flooding in from across their territory. Human ships were appearing everywhere, striking with precision and vanishing before reinforcements could arrive. These weren't the desperate survivors the Coalition had expected. These were professional soldiers with technology that seemed to bend the laws of physics. High Chancellor Vextar stood in his war room, surrounded by holographic displays showing Coalition losses. Each red mark represented a destroyed ship or captured facility. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "Our intelligence said they were extinct." General Mordak, a massive Corvan warrior with battle scars covering his silver skin, studied the tactical displays. "Their ships are faster than anything we have. Their weapons cut through our shields like they don't exist. And their tactics—" He paused, his glowing eyes troubled. "They fight like they have nothing to lose." "Because they don't," said a new voice. Dr. Yilandra, the Coalition's chief scientist, entered the room carrying a data pad. Her Valith features were pale with worry. "I've been analyzing the wreckage of our destroyed ships. The humans aren't using technology we recognize." "Explain," Vextar ordered. "They've created weapons that disrupt matter at the quantum level. Their ships use space-folding drives that shouldn't be possible with their level of science. And their soldiers—" She showed images captured from security cameras before a Coalition base fell. "Look at them." The humans in the images moved like dancers of death. They leaped incredible heights, moved faster than the eye could follow, and seemed to predict their enemies' actions before they happened. "Genetic enhancement," Vextar breathed. "They've changed themselves." "More than that," Yilandra said. "They've evolved. 50 years of fighting for survival has turned them into something we never expected." At that moment, alarms began blaring throughout the command center. "Sir," a technician shouted, "long-range sensors are detecting a massive human fleet approaching Kepler Station." Min Ji Kang's fleet emerged from hyperspace like a pack of hungry wolves. 200 human ships, each one a masterpiece of desperate innovation, surrounded the Coalition's most important administrative center. Kepler Station was a massive structure that could house 1 million beings. Its weapons were powerful enough to destroy planets. Its shields had never been breached in 3 centuries of operation. The Coalition commander, Admiral Texvar, was confident the station could handle a few human ships. He was very wrong. "All ships, commence Operation Payback." Minji broadcast her fleet. What happened next became legend throughout the galaxy. Human ships moved in perfect coordination, their new quantum weapons tearing through Kepler Station's defenses like tissue paper. Fighters that could phase in and out of normal space appeared inside the station's hangars. Boarding parties of enhanced humans cut through security forces with terrifying efficiency. "Our shields are failing." Texvar's aide reported in panic. "How are they getting through?" "They're not getting through," Texvar realized with growing horror. "They're going around. Their weapons exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously." The battle lasted only 4 hours. When it ended, Kepler Station was in human hands, and 50,000 enslaved humans were free for the first time in decades. The liberated slaves wept as they saw their rescuers, humans like themselves, but changed, evolved, made stronger by 50 years of abandonment. "We never forgot you," Minji told the freed slaves as they were evacuated to human ships. "We never stopped fighting to bring you home." As news of Kepler Station's fall spread, something changed in the galaxy. Species that had been loyal to the Coalition for centuries began to question their allegiance. Some quietly sent messages to human space, asking for terms. Others prepared for war. But in the deepest bunkers of the Coalition capital, scientists worked frantically on humanity's most terrifying secret. The Forsaken had done more than just survive the Void Plague. They had learned to control it. And soon, the galaxy would face the very weapon that had been used to justify humanity's destruction, now turned back against those who had wielded it. The reckoning had begun, and the Coalition was starting to understand that they had not just abandoned humanity to die. They had abandoned humanity to become something far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. Admiral Wu Jin Han stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Retribution, watching as the largest human fleet in history prepared for the final battle. Around him, 300 ships hung in the darkness of space, their hulls gleaming with the strange metal alloys that humanity had learned to create during their long isolation. Coalition Prime is directly ahead, sir, reported his navigation officer, Commander Myung Ko. Her voice was steady, but her enhanced eyes showed the excitement that all humans felt as they approached their moment of ultimate revenge. Coalition Prime, the most beautiful world in the galaxy, where crystal spires reached toward the sky and floating cities drifted among the clouds. It was here, 50 years ago, that the decision had been made to abandon humanity to die. Now it would be here that the bill came due. Sir, called out Lieutenant Dae Jinyu from his communication station, we're receiving multiple surrender requests from coalition fleets throughout the system. Wu Jin smiled coldly. Tell them it's too late for surrender. They had 50 years to show mercy. Now they get to see what humanity learned in the dark. On Coalition Prime, emergency meetings were happening in every government building. High Chancellor Vextar sat in his council chamber, surrounded by representatives from every species in the coalition. The room that had once been filled with confident voices planning humanity's extinction was now filled with fear and desperate arguments. We must negotiate, pleaded Ambassador Kilana of the Nexery. Her crystal body flickered with nervous yellow light. The humans have proven they're not the primitives we thought they were. Negotiate. General Mordak slammed his fist on the table, making the other delegates jump. They've destroyed half our fleet. They've liberated every human slave camp. They've turned our own technology against us. Because we betrayed them first, said Dr. Yelandra quietly. The Vela scientists have been studying human tactics throughout the war. We left them to die, stole their worlds, enslaved their survivors. Did we think there would be no consequences? Vextar's glowing eyes were dim with defeat. What do they want? His question was answered when every screen in the chamber activated simultaneously. The face that appeared belonged to Admiral Wu Jin Han, but he looked like no human the Coalition had ever seen. His skin had a metallic sheen that spoke of genetic modifications. His eyes glowed with inner light that seemed to see right through them. Leaders of the Coalition, Han's voice was calm, but carried the weight of 50 years of anger. I am Admiral Han of the Vengeance Armada. You left us to die. You stole our worlds, enslaved our people, and tried to erase us from history. Vextar found his voice. Admiral, we can discuss terms. The time for discussion is over, Han interrupted. You will witness the price of abandoning humanity. The transmission ended, and immediately the ground began to shake. Through the massive windows of the council chamber, the coalition leaders could see human ships descending through the atmosphere like falling stars. The battle for Coalition Prime was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Human fighters moved through the sky like living things, dodging energy beams that should have destroyed them. The Coalition's orbital defense platforms, structures that had protected the capital for centuries, simply stopped working as human hackers took control of their systems. But the most terrifying moment came when humanity revealed their ultimate weapon. From the flagship Retribution, a single projectile was fired toward the planet's surface. It looked harmless, just a small metal cylinder that glowed with soft green light. What is that? Vextar whispered, watching from his bunker deep beneath the capital city. Dr. Yelander's face went white as her instruments analyzed the projectile. It's the Void Plague. They weaponized it. The cylinder struck the ground in an empty desert far from any cities. Immediately, a circle of gray death began spreading outward, consuming rock and metal and anything it touched. But after exactly 1 kilometer, it stopped. The message was clear. Humanity could destroy the entire planet if they chose to, but they were showing restraint that the Coalition had never shown them. Within hours, Coalition forces across the planet surrendered. The crystal spires that had stood for millennia fell not to weapons but to human engineers who simply shut down their power sources. The floating cities landed gently as their gravity generators were turned off by human technicians who understood the technology better than its creators. When the fighting ended, Admiral Han walked through the ruins of the Coalition Council chambers. The room where humanity's death sentence had been signed was now filled with rubble and broken dreams. Admiral. Commander Ko approached you with a data pad. The Coalition leadership is requesting an audience. Let them wait, Han said. They made us wait 50 years for justice. Finally, he agreed to meet with the survivors. They came to him not as conquerors, but as broken beings begging for mercy. Vex Tar, once proud and powerful, knelt before the human admiral. "What are your terms?" he asked quietly. Han's voice carried no emotion. "Complete reparations for everything you stole. Return of every human survivor from every world. Recognition of human sovereignty over 30% of coalition space. And a promise that you will never again underestimate what happens when you abandon humanity to die." The coalition had no choice but to agree. Later, as human ships spread across their new territories, Han stood where the Coalition Council had once met. Through the broken windows, he could see human children playing in the streets. Some were liberated slaves, others were the enhanced children of the Forsaken. "It's over," he said to himself. Payback complete. The galaxy would never again make the mistake of thinking humanity could be easily dismissed. They had learned that when you try to kill humanity, you only make them stronger